Ever wondered what you'd do if the world fell into chaos and zombies roamed the streets? Imagine a world where the undead are knocking on your door, a grim reality that's been explored in countless books, movies, and video games. It's a chilling thought that's captivated minds for decades. Why? Because it's not just about the undead terror, it's about survival, resilience, and the human spirit. Well, today we're diving into the best strategies for surviving a zombie apocalypse. The key to survival in any situation? Preparation. It's not just about getting ready for a potential zombie apocalypse, it's about being prepared for any disaster that could strike. Whether it's a natural disaster, a power outage, or the walking dead knocking at your door, having a plan and being prepared can be the difference between life and death. Think about it, in a crisis, your local grocery store isn't going to be an option. The shelves will be empty long before you get there. And the lines, well, let's just say you don't want to be stuck in a queue when the zombies come calling. That's why it's essential to maintain a stockpile of non-perishable food and water. We're talking canned goods, dried foods, anything that will last. And water, you'll need at least 1 gallon per person per day. It may sound like a lot, but when it comes to survival, it's better to have too much than not enough. But it's not just food and water you need to think about. A first aid kit is a must-have. Accidents happen, especially in high-stress situations, and you're not going to be able to pop down to the local pharmacy for supplies. Make sure you've got bandages, antiseptics, painkillers, and any essential medication you or your family may need. Knowing basic survival skills is another key part of preparation. Can you start a fire without matches? Do you know how to purify water? Can you build a shelter? These are all things you'll need to know when the chips are down. And remember, it's not enough to read about these skills. You need to practice them. Preparation isn't just about physical supplies and skills, though. It's also about mental preparedness. Knowing what to do in a crisis, staying calm, making tough decisions, these are all things that will help you survive. So, whether it's a power outage, a hurricane, or a horde of the undead, preparation is key. Remember, in an apocalypse, the grocery store won't be an option, so prepare now. If the zombies come knocking, where are you going to hide? The answer to that question could be the difference between life and something far less pleasant. Let's start with the countryside versus the city debate. Both have their pros and cons. The countryside, with its wide-open spaces, might seem like the ideal place to avoid a zombie horde. You've got room to move, to spot the undead from a distance, and to set up some serious defenses. Plus, the lower population density means fewer potential zombies. But here's the downside. Resources are scarce. We're talking food, medical supplies, and other necessities. You may also face isolation, which can be a mental challenge. Now let's pivot to the city. It's the exact opposite. Resources are plentiful, from canned goods and supermarkets to medical facilities. You might even find a secure building to hole up in. But the downside? You're in Zombie Central. High population density means more undead to deal with. Plus, cities are likely to be chaotic and dangerous, especially in the early days of an outbreak. Then there's the question of staying put, or going mobile. If you've got a secure location with plenty of resources, staying put could be a good strategy. You've got home field advantage, you know your surroundings, you can set up defenses. But what if your location is compromised or resources dwindle? That's where mobility comes in handy. With a well-equipped vehicle, you can stay one step ahead of the zombie horde, always moving, always adapting. But remember, being constantly on the move can be exhausting, both physically and mentally. So, what's the verdict? It's not about finding the perfect location. It's about understanding the strengths and weaknesses of different locations and making the best decision based on your circumstances. Choose your location wisely. It could mean the difference between life and undeath. And now that you're prepared and have a safe location, let's talk about defending yourself. In the face of a zombie apocalypse, defense is your key to survival. So let's break it down into two main categories: weapons and non-violent methods. When it comes to weapons, there's a common misconception that the bigger, the better. However, in reality, the best weapons are those that are easy to handle and don't require ammunition. Think baseball bats, crowbars, or even a sturdy frying pan. They're simple, reliable, and best of all, they don't run out of bullets. But remember, always aim for the head. It's a zombie's most vulnerable spot. Now let's move on to non-violent methods. These are just as important, if not more so. After all, the goal isn't to destroy every zombie you see, it's to stay alive. Barricading doors and windows is an effective way to keep zombies out. Use whatever you have on hand, from furniture to wooden planks. Just remember to always have an escape route, in case things go south. Another effective strategy is distraction. Zombies are attracted to noise, so use that to your advantage. A loud radio or even a simple tin can filled with rocks can draw them away from your location. But be careful not to attract too many at once. Lastly, don't underestimate the power of stealth. If you can avoid detection, you can avoid conflict altogether. Walk quietly, don't use light unnecessarily, and always be aware of your surroundings. And there you have it, your basic zombie defense 101. Each method has its strengths and weaknesses, so it's best to use a combination of them all. Remember, the goal isn't to become a zombie-killing machine, it's to survive. So whether you're swinging a baseball bat or silently sneaking past a horde of zombies, always remember this: a good offense is the best defense. In a world overrun by the undead, the living must stick together. Let's take a moment to consider the importance of community in a zombie apocalypse scenario. The concept of every man for himself might work in some survival situations, but when you're up against hordes of the undead, it's a whole different ballgame. In such dire circumstances, finding or building a community becomes crucial. Why, you might ask? Well, there are several reasons. First, there's the practicality of shared resources. As we all know, resources become scarce during an apocalypse. Food, water, medical supplies, you name it. By banding together, individuals can pool their resources, ensuring everyone has access to the essentials. It's the same principle that allowed our ancestors to survive and thrive. Teamwork makes the dream work, even if the dream is just surviving till the next sunrise. Second, there are safety and security benefits. There's a reason why the phrase safety in numbers exists. A larger group can better defend against zombie attacks than a lone individual. Imagine being on guard duty alone versus with a team. The latter is undoubtedly less stressful and more effective. Lastly, don't underestimate the power of emotional support. In a world where every day might be your last, having people around who understand your situation can be a great comfort. Humans are social creatures after all. We thrive on interaction and companionship. To sum up, when the world goes to the zombies, don't go it alone. Find a community, build one if you have to. It might seem challenging, but it's well worth the effort. Remember, the goal is not just to survive, but to preserve our humanity in the process. And what better way to do that than by banding together, helping each other, and building a new society amidst the chaos? Remember, there's safety in numbers. So, are you ready for the zombie apocalypse? Let's quickly recap what we've covered so far. First and foremost, preparation is key. You need to have a plan and be ready to execute it at a moment's notice. This includes having the necessary supplies, such as food, water, medical kits, and other survival gear. Remember, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Next, we talked about the importance of location. Ideally, you want to be somewhere high up or secluded, where zombies would have a hard time reaching you, but wherever you are, make sure you know your surroundings and have an escape route in mind. Then we dove into the nitty-gritty of zombie defense. You need to know how to protect yourself and your loved ones. This might involve learning some basic combat skills or setting up defensive structures around your location. Never underestimate the importance of being able to hold your ground. Last, but certainly not least, we discussed the importance of community. In a zombie apocalypse, there is strength in numbers. Building a community of trustworthy and capable individuals can greatly increase your chances of survival. With these tips, you'll be ready for anything, even zombies. After all, the zombie apocalypse isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving. So keep these strategies in mind, and you'll be ready to face the undead head on.